It's Monday, June 9th, 2025. How was your weekend? Mine was pretty cool. Oh, what the world? Sometimes things just don't want to go my way. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my weekend. This morning, I woke up and Rich said, there's these really big birds on the bird feeder. Normally, it's just finches and sometimes some doves. But I was like, what the world? What are those? Like in my mind, are they pigeons? I have no idea. I want to learn more about birds, but they were big and they were rocking the bird feeders. That was at the beginning of the intro. All right, so I have a lot I want to talk about. I brought in a little sweet red flower from the garden. Someone very special got me this in a pot one time for Valentine's. A little cute little pot of red, like Gerber daisies, I think. And I planted them in the ground, and they just keep making daisies, red, beautiful daisies. There's 4 more on the way, so I thought, oh, it won't hurt if I take this one. And I put some basil with it. All right, so my very first live happened last Thursday. It went way better than I ever thought it could go. I felt so supported and loved. This community is amazing. So that happened. So Friday, I went to the dentist. Okay, I got my teeth cleaned, but I've had this bump under my jaw for about a month now. I wasn't too worried about it, but then, sometimes you look things up and everything is like, oh, or it could be cancer. But I knew I had a dentist appointment coming up, so I wasn't too freaked out. So when I went, they're like, oh yeah, you have an abscess there. Looks like you'll need a root canal and a new crown. So yay, I just took my amoxicillin and I'll be getting a root canal this Wednesday. Can't wait. Never, never, never give up. Is that never, never, never give up? So Friday, I went to the dentist. No big deal. Got a little teeth cleaning, got the news. And then we're sitting on the sofa and I'm just messing around, watching TV, YouTube. And Motorcycle Man says, we're going out to dinner tonight. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking El Pollo Loco, something quick around here. And then he says, we're going to go to the Cellar, so you better get ready. Now, if you're not from around here, you're like, oh, big deal. So you're going to the Cellar. Well, the Cellar is a huge deal. It's a fancy restaurant, like fancy. Like I've seen the Cellar my entire life pretty much because I grew up in the town that it's in and I've always wanted to eat there. My parents had eaten there back in the day. It's been around for a while, 1969. And it's as old as Motorcycle Man. Anyway, so I've told Rich you're there, like I've always wanted to eat there. It's so like mysterious. You go down underground and it's dark and moody. I mean, I figured that out because I've never been in there except for Friday. I finally went. We had a fancy dinner and it was so much fun. And he said it was to celebrate my 2 years on YouTube. That was so awesome. So that happened on Friday, right? And then on Saturday, I want to tell you what happened on Saturday, but I want to do sort of like a going into it before I go into it. I'm a little nervous to talk about it, but on this channel, I have to say a couple of things. I always want to be authentic and true and real to myself. Sometimes that means I might say some things that people don't like, but I have to be true to myself, and I'm learning more and more and more, and especially reading this book, Let Them. People are going to be who they are. They're going to do what they want. They're going to think what they want. Let them. Don't worry about it. Don't make it be a big thing for yourself. So this is helping me, honestly, be more authentically me than ever, because also I think with age comes wisdom. And I'm 55 now, which is, some people are like, oh, you're still young, but some people are like, whoa, you're really old. So it depends on who you are. But I'm 55. I consider that midlife at this point because, I have plans, unless God has different plans, that I will live to be past 100 and in good health, good mind, all that. That is my hope for myself. I've been going through this book, the Book of Alchemy. It's the 100-day project of journaling. And yesterday, Sunday, was 30 of 100. And sometimes, honestly, they will give you a prompt on what to write about. And sometimes I don't write about what they tell you to write about because I'm a rebel. But what it does do is it sparks like a memory or something else. And then I think, you know what? I want to write about this because this is important to me, kind of goes along with it. And so yesterday was one of those days. I didn't like the prompt, but I loved the story. And the story was a gal talking about her first child and having her first child and how that changed her life. And I thought, I've had a first child. That first child changed my life. And I'm 55, he's 30, Austin. And I thought, oh my gosh, I remember it like it's yesterday. And I just wanted to just sort of talk about it a little bit because I think he's going to like this one day that I'm talking about when he was born. So I was so excited to have a little boy. I couldn't wait. So we found out that Austin was going to be a boy. I had to know. And I was super excited that my first child was going to be a little boy and that I could be a mom to a boy. And so I got so excited about all of that, right? And it came to be the day. But prior to that, let's just back up a little bit. They had these books, and maybe they still do, called What to Expect When Expecting. Because I had never had a child before. So I didn't honestly know what to expect. So I carried that book around like a Bible. I always had that book with me, even at work. And I remember I'd look and I'd be like, oh, he's as big as a pea today. Or, oh, he's graduated to the size of a pear. And I would just go through that book and it would help me with some of the symptoms. I had a lot of heartburn. I was emotional. I even had surgery. I had a tumor in my nose when I was pregnant with him. That sounds so odd, but I had a tumor in my nose and I had nosebleeds multiple times a day. So I had to go in and have this taken care of. And I remember getting ready to go into surgery and feeling the first kick. He did the first kick that I ever felt. And I felt like, oh my gosh, comfort. I'm going into surgery. I'm scared. And he gave me a little boom. I'm here for you, Mom. And so that I remember that moment. So then when it comes time for you to have the child, right? Now, I don't know the proper way to say it because I've heard it water. I always say water. My water broke. That was a definite sign. It's time. Let's go. So my water broke. We got to the hospital. We lived in LA County, Whittier, but my hospital was in Fullerton, Orange County. So we had to drive all the way to Orange County. It wasn't that far. It's probably like 20 minutes. But got there. Hospital's full. Got the tiniest little room. No big deal. But anyway, wanted to do it natural. In my mind, I'm like, I went to Lamaze class. I'm doing this natural. I'm going to breathe it through. Okay, pain started amping up. I was like, you know what? I think I'll have one of those epidurals now. And they gave me an epidural, but honestly, it didn't numb my whole body. I could still feel half my body. And I've learned, and I don't know if this is true, but redheads need more anesthetic or anesthesia or whatever it's called. I don't know if it's a myth, but I could feel half of my body. And so I felt half of the pain. I don't know. But he came, and then it's time to take the little human home. And I'm like, whoa, they just let you take this little tiny human with a heartbeat? little eyes, little hands, little brain. I get to take this home with me? What on earth? Like, you can just go to the pound and get a dog or a cat, and usually you have to go through a big rigmarole to get them. Like, you have to know, like, are you you're going to vaccinate them, and you're going to make sure they get fixed, and sometimes they even want to look at your house and see if it's, good enough for this animal. But for this little human, they're like, oh, here's your human. So I was so scared. Okay, I've never had a child before, so I sit in the back seat with him, and his little head's kind of like moving around with every bump, and I'm trying to hold his head up, even though I had one of those. You could buy one of these things that goes around their head that tries to hold their head in. Mine was blue gingham, so cute. It didn't. He was so tiny. He was like 6 pounds 4 ounces, and so his little head's bobbing around. I'm trying to hold it up, and we get home, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this child? And so the first night comes. I'm so scared he's gonna throw up and choke on his own vomit and not live through the night. I'm scared to death. I'm not even kidding you. So I have him sleep in his car seat the first few nights, strapped in his car seat, so he's sitting up. Yeah, that's how he slept the first few nights. And then I felt like I wasn't breastfeeding, like he was starving to death. I'm like, he's not getting anything. I know he's starving. He's starving to death. So it'd be like 3:00 in the morning, he's crying. I feel like he's starving. I got these Playtex bottles for my baby shower. I'm like, what the world? Then they had this book, What to Expect in the First Year. I'm flipping through the book. How do you sterilize a bottle nipple? How do you know the milk is the right temperature? How do you even mix the formula? I've seen people put it on their wrist. Is that warm enough? Am I going to scald his mouth? Like, I'm like literally freaking out, okay? I have a little human I'm responsible for. And he changed my life forever. And at the time, I worked for my parents, since I was 20. I started there when I was 20 and worked there for 31 years. And I've always wanted to impress my parents. Like, I want to be the best. Like, I'm going to do the best work. I wasn't one of those children of a parent who has a company that just tries to get away with everything and not do this and that. No, I was the one that wanted to do everything right. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do the best I could. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to, all of that. So I had Austin, our firstborn, and you usually get, I believe it was like 6 weeks paid maternity leave. And I didn't want to take the whole 6 weeks. I wanted to go back to work. I think I went after a month, 4 weeks. I went back to work and went back to work. And my mom and Rich's mom watched Austin when he was tiny. So they took turns. My mom would have him the first half of the day. Mama Bear would have him the second half of the day. And they took care of our firstborn. And I gave them loads of directions and instructions, like as if they didn't know how to raise a child, and they've each raised many. Anyway, that all happened, and he did change my life. And I'm getting off track. I feel like I had more to say about that. Oh, so yeah, when I went back to work, which I think was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. Stupid. And you know what? I did it with all 3 kids. I didn't take my full time because I wanted to impress my parents. I wanted to be a good hard worker. And nobody told me to stay home. No one said, enjoy these precious moments because they are fleeting and you will never get them back again. No one told me that. They just let me go on back to work. And I think people were going through things in their own lives at that time, including my mom. She was going through it. She was going through a lot during that time. So I don't think she was in the point where she would think to even tell me that. But I regret it. I regret it to this day, but I cannot take it back. But I can say I've had a close, loving relationship with all 3 of our children. I worked 40 hours a week with the boys until little RJ was born. And then when RJ was born, I was willing to work 40 hours a week. But when I got my first paycheck and I had all 3 in childcare, I had $50 left in my check. And I thought, well, that's going to pay for maybe a little bit of groceries, and the rest is going to childcare, and I'm not even home with my kids. So at that point, I went to my parents and I said, I'm going to have to quit my job here because it's not worth it. This $50 a week for groceries is not worth it. I want to be with my kids. And that's when they offered me the most sweet deal you could ever imagine. They said, how about this? How about if you work half days, but you get the same amount of money? So 20 hours a week instead of 40, but I got the same amount of money. So then I only had to pay half the daycare. And it was appealing, so I stayed there. And I had that sweet setup from the time Abby was born until I quit after 31 years. And that was beautiful and wonderful. And I will never take that for granted. And I was able to be home when they started school. They didn't even know I worked. I was home when they got home from school. But I had to work I had to work my butt off when I was at work, and I often worked, more than the 4 hours a day. I would put it to the last minute to where I had to then leave and pick up the kids from school and try to get everything done the best that I could while I was at work. And it was a lot of pressure to try to do all that stuff and try to get all my work done and then also be a mom to the kids. It felt like a lot, but I was younger then and I could handle a lot. And I never gave up. So there's that. That is kind of like the intro to the story. My firstborn changed my life. I would be at work and he would be with the moms, our moms. And I couldn't stop thinking about him. All I could think about was Austin. Like, his beautiful blue eyes and he's just the sweetest little baby. He was so good. And I couldn't afford a breast pump at the time, and I wanted to pump my milk so he could have my milk and not formula, and kind of supplement when I wasn't there for him. And when I was there for him, I was there for him. But I had this industrial, hard-cased, loudest machine, and I'd have an hour for lunch, and so I would go in to the bathroom, which was across the hall from Mike Cassiopo. And I know he could hear the breast pump machine. It was so horrible, right? I had to sit in this bathroom and pump my boobs to try to make milk. And I knew that, the project manager right there, right, like across the hall, could totally hear it. It was so weird. And then after I would pump my breast milk and to go put it down in the refrigerator, I then would go to the park and sit, and I would write poems to Austin. I would write letters to Austin, and I would sit and I'd eat my lunch, and I would just wish I was with Austin and not at work. So every mom that got to stay home with their kids, what a blessing. What a blessing you got, because all I wanted was to be home with my kids. And I did get to be I explained that, but not when they were tiny, when you really could have just, So that is how that story goes. I could not stop thinking about Austin when I was at work every day. And he changed my life so much. And I loved getting up early before work and walking him around the neighborhood. And on the weekends, I'd get up early and we'd go on walks. And I couldn't wait to get home and play my music and cook and have him on my hip. And I kept him up late at night watching Jerry Springer, drinking Dr. Pepper. I was not, you know what? No one gives you a manual. And I did some really weird things when I was raising the kids. But now I want to tell you what I did on Saturday. I just thought of something. Sunday's prompt was 30 of 100. Austin is 30 years old. I always tie things in. And all I could think about was Austin when I journaled yesterday. And I journaled kind of like what I just told you, but in a more beautiful way. I feel like when I'm talking to you, I have to kind of rush through it so that it's not going to take too much of your time up if you're still here. So anyway, this is how it goes. Austin met someone about 10 years ago and fell in love with them. And Crystal has been a part of our lives for 10 years. And they have a beautiful partnership. Crystal is so loving towards Austin. Austin has high anxiety. He's, I'm going to say, extra sensitive soul on this planet. He feels his feelings immensely. And the thing I love about Austin is we've always been able to just sit and talk and talk and talk about all the things of the world, like the universe, and do aliens exist, and is there such thing as this? And we just talk about everything and all things, and very deeply. And we've had many of times where we've cried together. We're both very emotional and sensitive. And Crystal seems to be the person that is a calming force in our son's life. And I'm so happy that Crystal is his person. And I'm going to say that my son leads I'm going to say an alternative lifestyle. It's not, let's see, how can I say this? You know, I was raised in Christian school, and I've gone to church for most of my life, and Bible studies and all. I spend a lot of time in the Word. I love Jesus. I pray. I have a personal relationship with Christ. But I sometimes think a little differently than the people that go to my church or my Bible studies. And maybe they think the way I think isn't exactly right. They think it's wrong. They think I'm confused, whatever. But I love people for exactly who they are. God created all of us as human beings. He loves us all. This is true. And I love everybody, no matter what. I just like to value people as human beings, and I like to honor them the way they would like to be honored. So our son is with a non-binary person, and I honor Crystal and I honor their pronouns because I love Crystal. And so Saturday was Pride in our little city. And it's and Crystal thought it was funny because it was a very small, low-key Pride celebration, but it was beautiful. And I went to my very first Pride celebration this weekend, and it was extremely beautiful and very emotional for me, but more so emotional for our son Austin. He cried so much while he was there. He had his sunglasses on, but he was crying because he was so deeply touched. When I was there, I felt like you could be exactly who you were, that you didn't have to pretend to fit in with the world, that you could just be who you were without judgment. And that's what I feel like the world should be like. You should just be who you are. People make fun of people all the time. Like if they are dressed a little different, oh, look at them, ha ha ha, that's so funny. Why are they wearing that? Blah, blah, blah. What does it matter? What does it matter? If they're happy and they feel good and they're comfortable, wear it, be it, whatever. And then I get so sad because there are kids who are gay, who are treated so meanly. And it's getting a little better these days, but kids have lost their lives over this. They have been literally killed over this. And I don't understand why one person feels like they would have to kill another person for being who they are. And that love goes so much longer or better and further than hate. And that if you think you're going to bring someone to know Jesus, you think you're going to hate them and you're going to shout you're going to hell to them? You think that's going to bring them to Jesus? I don't think so. I don't think so. Who would want to know Jesus if someone is shouting at them like that? And there were people there with megaphones shouting things like that. And it just broke my heart. And then there was those that were walking around, free mom hugs, free auntie hugs. I got 2 beautiful embraces while I was there, and it felt so good, the human connection. So yeah, I went to my first Pride event, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to tell my viewers that I went to this event because I might lose some viewers because I actually did this. But I'm tired of just trying to please everyone and not be who I am. And that's when it comes to let you. If you're not going to keep watching my channel because I love people, then let them. Bye. Goodbye. So anyway, I just wanted to be true to myself today, to who I am. It feels so much better than just pretending to just please everybody because I don't want anyone to not like me. I don't care if you don't like me anymore. That is the beauty of age and wisdom. So that's my spiel for today. That's what I did this weekend. I love our children. I love Austin. I love Crystal. And I honor who they are. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe I won't. Well, no, probably won't be recording tomorrow, but in the next one. Oh, and about my channel name, it's always going to be Life in the Wild West. And I did add Artfully Living because that's what I do. I want artfully live. I see birds in my yard. I pick flowers. I make art. I repurpose things. That's what this channel is about. So if you like what this channel is about, and here I am saying at the end, you've probably already left. A lot of people probably already left. But if you like that sort of thing, I'm glad you're here. And I hope you might subscribe. It's free to do it. And I'm going to keep going. It's a slow go. It's a slow go for me because of what I'm doing. But I love it and I don't want to stop. So thank you for being here. Peace, love, and keep going.